Good morning and welcome to another exciting day to talk about businesses around the world and business topics. It's Business 360 and my name is Blyden Ukem. In Business 360 today, we'll talk about the biggest features in the world, but we'll begin with events unfolding in India. An Indian court's recent verdict expanding the rights of homemakers over Madras High Court in the southern state of Tamil Nadu passed a verdict in a domestic dispute case that allowed a housewife equal share in her husband's property. Experts say this. They, however, point out that a verdict is not binding on other states unless the country's Supreme Court rules along similarities on high-stake commitment to address record numbers of people arriving in tiny boats. Britain's proposal to transition with Rwanda that was reached last year. The Conservative administration of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak plans to deport thousands of migrants more than 4,000 miles away to that nation. Controversy surrounds the plan as critics question the high expenses and ethical implication of deporting vulnerable individuals to Rwanda. Legal challenges and a pending Court of Appeal ruling further complicates the implementation of the deportation scheme, delaying Robert and Baerbock was in Pretoria on Tuesday to meet with her South African counterparts, Naledi Pandor, for the German-South Africa Binational Commission, key including Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The war has greatly affected food security and oil prices globally, with African countries amongst those most impacted. South Africa has faced criticism from foreign countries, but foreign ministers spoke at the meeting. Let's find out more.
This war is, and we have discussed this already, is an attack on the UN Charter, on the very rules that bind and protect us all. The African delegation led by President Africa, the UN Charter must be respected, and we are thankful for his clear words.
Today we are faced with a war in Ukraine has had global ramifications. We'll also discuss these in more detail during our discussions.
Foreign ministers still in Africa. Mohamed Duji, also known as Mo, has been named the Industrialist of the Year of Mohammed Enterprises Tanzania Limited, which operates in 11 African countries and focuses on manufacturing textiles, flour, beverages, and cooking oil, with a net worth for not investing in banking and telecom sectors in the past. Congratulations to him. Meanwhile, 1 million people into poverty between January and May 2023. This was disclosed during the launch of a June 21 million Nigerians would become poor if the federal government failed to compensate or provide palliatives for them. According that an additional 4 million Nigerians became poor between January and May this year, raising the figure to 93.8 million. Looking at Nigerian businesses. A new released Central Bank of Nigeria Customer Due Diligence Regulation 2023 document, the Apex Bank asks financial institutions to use a social media handle, amongst other things, of their customers to verify their identification. January 2023, using social media as means of identification is projected to further strengthen customer due diligence regulations and disagreements regarding using social media as means of identification from the banks. Let's talk about the currency in circulation in Nigeria. End of March to 2.53 trillion naira as of the end of May, according to latest figure from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. According to the figures, the currency 235.03% to 982.09 billion naira at the end of February, from 3.29 trillion naira at the end of October 2022, on the back of the naira redesign policy of the CBN. Figure. More international manufacturing companies may leave Nigeria and site their factories in other countries should power distributors implement the planned hike in the tariff payable by consumers from July 1st, 2023. These were the words of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria MAN, coupled with the unpredictability of a country's foreign exchange rate before it was recently unified. Spent on alternative sources of energy by manufacturers in 2022 impacted adversely on the operations of its members. The Central Bank of Nigeria has issued a guideline placing a limit on contactless payments. This was disclosed by the CBN on Tuesday in two circulars signed by the CBN's Director, Payment System Management Providers on contactless, a 15,000 naira transaction limit on contactless payments through accounts, wallets in Nigeria. It added that there is adequate verification and authorization. It would be a good time to look at global economy, talking about the economic calendar and economic data all around the world. The expected data releases for today, Wednesday, June 28, 2023. Let's look at the economic calendar this morning. The state of the calendar this morning has shown some positivity for some of the countries and negativity for others. Early hours of the morning, as at 7 a.m. this morning, the GfK Consumer Confidence for July in Germany. In the afternoon, we'll also have to look at the details that will take place later in the day. Retail sales month on month for May in Spain came out at 0.3%. Previous standing was 0.9%. Let's look at further in the day. The data expected to be out would come out still early in the morning. Inflation rates came out as at 8 a.m. in the morning rather. Inflation rates year on year according to preliminary estimates for June in Italy at 6.4% was the outing. Previous standing was 7.6%. Let's talk about inflation in Italy. The annual inflation rate in Italy fell to 6.4% in June of 2023, the lowest in 14 months and well under market expectations of 6.8%, dropping significantly from the 7.6% in the previous month, according to preliminary estimates. The decline was largely attributed to base year effects to peaks in June of 2022. The Consumer Price Index (CPI) slowed significantly for non-regulated energy at 8.4% against 20.3% in May, processed food 11.9% against 18.2%, and services related to transportation at 3.8% against 5.6%. Let's look at the chart indicating Italy's inflation rates. The chart this morning. Inflation rate in Italy has shown some decline in recent times. As of July 2022, inflation, which is the cost of commodities, increase in the prices of commodities, as well as the weakness in the currency of that country. In Italy, inflation stood at 7.9% in July 2022. It went further upward to a peak of that year at 11.8% October 2022, before dropping slowly and then consistently to 10% in January this year, and further downward to 8.2% in April this year, but dropping slowly to 6.4%. Bank lending to households in the Eurozone increased by 2.1% year-on-year to 6.87 trillion euros in May 2023, which was the lowest growth rate since December 2016 and below the market consensus of a 2.3% rise. The demand for credit continued to slow as a result of the unprecedented rate hikes implemented by the European Central Bank in recent months. On the other hand, lending to companies grew by 4%, but still, food and non-financial corporations decelerated to 2.8% in May, the least since May 2021. Let's also look at the charts indicating Euro area household credit growth. The chart this morning has shown events that's been happening in the Euro area when it has to do with lending to household. As of July 2022, it stood at 4.5%, but this lending to household dropped to 4.2% as at October 2022, and consistently dropping to 3.6% in January 2023 and 2.5% in April 2023, and currently 2.1%, indicating the difficulty around the world and the Eurozone and the lending capacities to households. Let's talk about commodity market, but that will be when we return from this break. We'll go on a short break, and afterwards we'll get to look at the state of crude oil as WTI futures are down. Welcome back. It's Business 360, 4 sessions amid persistent weak demand forecasts. Bob Icino discusses this. Let's hear from Bob.
In the energy patch, taking a look at a 4-day down move in the August crude. Crude is now down a 4th consecutive session, bringing that total move, that total 4-session move, down to minus 6.3%. Overall, we're still in the middle of that downward sloping channel that WTI crude has been in really since late August of last year, but we are cracking the center of it again and appear to, at least technically, be headed toward the lower band, at least over the continues, and pressure continues to be on crude, at least over the last 3 days. Interestingly, there were a couple of spikes to higher highs, but they didn't hold up, and we continued to make lower lows.
High crude. Let's move to the market and see what the standings are in the morning market for these crude prices. The US crude WTI as well as Brent crude Nigeria's price benchmark. According to the morning market, crude oil current price for US crude is $68 per barrel, gaining slightly 0.69 points. Market is moving quite fast. A 1.04% appreciation for US crude. For Brent, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, is $72 per barrel, upward by 0.674 points, a 0.92% appreciation. The volatility in this market is quite low. Let's look at the metal market and what the standings are for these metals. Talking about the price of gold, silver, copper, steel, and the rest. It's been of mixed fortune. A decline for gold in the morning market, 2.63 points decline, a negative 0.12% decline. $1,910 per ounce is the price of gold. For steel, steel has gained 9 points this morning, 3,721 Chinese yuan per ton is the price of steel. For lithium, lithium has dropped 3,000 points this morning, a negative 0.97% decline. Not often you get to see the price of lithium shift, but current price for lithium is 307,500 Chinese yuan per ton. Lithium is used for making batteries. Let's also look at agricultural market. Agricultural market has shown huge decline for most of the commodities, exception of palm oil. For soybeans have dropped 2 points this morning. $1,493 per bushel is the price. For wheat is a similar story, $684 per bushel. Palm oil gained 65 points this morning, a 1.74% appreciation. The price is 3,739 Malaysian ringgit per ton at the international market. It would be a good time to look at the foreign exchange market and the identities in it. The South African rand we talk about now. The South African rand was trading around 18.5 per US dollar, moving towards an over 1 month high of $18.2 hits on June 19th amid a softer dollar. After the aborted weekend mutiny in Russia, this mutiny reduced the chances of President Vladimir Putin to attend the BRICS summit, which will be held in Johannesburg in August. Putin, if he attends, and not doing so could worsen tensions with the West. The currency was also supported by less intense load shedding by state utility Eskom after some signs of improvement in generation capacity in the last few weeks. That's the state of things regarding the South African rand. Let's move to the market and see the prices for the majors, the euro against the US dollar, and afterwards the naira's performance in the black market and international exchange market. Let's begin with the euro against the US dollar. At the market this morning, the standings have been that of complication. The volatility level is quite low, but the price of the euro against the US dollar is at 1.09 points, dropping away from the 1.10 points. For the pounds against the US dollar, current price is 1.27 point mark. The pound gaining or dropping slightly against the US dollar. Let's look at the state of things regarding the naira against the majors. The US dollar against the naira, and afterwards we'll talk about the black market. 763 naira equals $1 in the market this morning. For the euro against the naira, at the close of yesterday's market, it stood at 837 naira to €1. Again for the euro at 27 points, a 3.42% appreciation. For the pound against the naira is a similar story, 29 points gain for the pound over the naira, 973 naira equaling 1 pound. The Aussie is struggling this morning against the naira at 506 naira equaling the dollar to naira. Buying rate is 773 naira to $1 and selling rate 765 naira to $1. Pounds to naira, it's 997 naira to 1 pound and 980 naira to 1 pound at the selling rate. The euro to naira is 840 naira to 1 euro and 825 naira to 1 euro at the selling rate. Talking about the digital decline this morning, leading the way is Bitcoin, dropping 320 points in the morning market, a negative 1.06% decline. The price of Bitcoin is 30,320. Market is moving quite fast. 30,333 US dollars for 1 Bitcoin. Ether also dropping this morning by 31 points. Transactions on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited closed for the 2-day Salah break on a positive note as the All-Share Index crossed the 60,000 level for the first time since March 2008. This was as a positive 5.2%, Access Corporation positive 3.61%, and Japan Gold a positive 8.47%. As a result, the All-Share Index rose by 1.3% higher to close at 60,109.14 points, while market capitalization, which opened 29 trillion naira. With Monday's 72 billion naira gain, investors have now purchased 9 million shares worth 12.53 billion naira in 9,463. Rose by 33 kobo to end trading at 3 naira 63 kobo from 3 naira 30 kobo per share. The bottom losers. Red Star Express topped the losers table after shedding 35 kobo to drop from 3 naira 50 kobo to 3 naira 15 kobo per share, the top volume. Access Corporation led the day's trading with 100. Here we draw the curtain on today's edition of Business 360. My name is Biden.